When our kids go back to school, there are parenting habits we shouldn't go back to. More specifically, my next guest says there are 5 mistakes parents make when we send our kids into the new school year. Studio 5 parenting contributor Heather Johnson shares how we can leave those mistakes at the door. Thanks for being here. Always great to see you. And I'm kind of on pins and needles. What mistakes am I making?
Yeah.
A lot? How many? Don't answer that.
Yeah, we won't answer that today. We're just going to touch on some, though. If they happen to apply, we're going to see if we can get rid of them.
And are these specific to the back-to-school transition, or are these year-round parenting improvements that can be made?
They're year-round parenting improvements, but we tend to kind of ramp them up at certain phases of our kids' school year. And the beginning of the school year is a big one. It hurts them. It makes it really hard for them to succeed. And at a time, I know our kids went back this morning, at a time when we want our kids to go back and have all that really great energy, this kind of sucks it dry, takes it away.
So extra emphasis now that you're putting it on my kids' success too. It's not just my mistake, but it could be to their detriment.
It makes it hard for them. And you know, we do these things for a couple reasons. One is oftentimes we just have really good intentions.
Sure,
and we want great things for them, and we want their futures to be bright. That's a real thing. But a lot of times these mistakes happen more because we're either overwhelmed, we're mismanaging ourselves, or we're worried about what other people are going to think about our parenting or about our kids' performance. And so anytime we're making decisions from that space, we're probably not making the best decisions or the healthiest decisions.
Mistake number 1, taking over.
Yes, taking over, doing it for them, right? This often comes because, again, we feel overwhelmed, things need done, we're in a hurry, that happens. It also happens because we're really worried about what people are gonna think about what our kids do, because we see it as a reflection on ourselves. When we take over for our kids, we're only sending one message, and that message is, I don't trust that you're gonna do it right. That's the message our kids hear. That's what they hear from us. We don't want that. It hurts our relationship of trust, but it also shuts our kids down from wanting to learn anything new. And so when we take over, they actually don't learn the things that would allow them to do it for themselves. So we can ask some key questions instead of taking over. And it's going to be a challenge. To take a step back and not do it and really just communicate with them will be a challenge. But asking them, for example, what are you going to do? And then asking, when are you going to do it? Right? So we're communicating, followed by, how am I going to know? How am I going to know that you've done it or that you're getting it done? And we can even ask them, how do you want me to hold you accountable for this thing?
So they are stakeholders in this decision.
They are. Instead of us taking over and doing it for them, I mean, imagine this is the school project that needs done. This is any of those things, getting ready for an athletic event. What are you going to do? When are you going to do it? How am I going to know that you're doing that or have got it done? And how do you want me to hold you accountable?
And then we say, okay.
And then we say, okay. And we let it be a collaborative effort, and we let them manage their own space.
Okay.
Let them manage.
Parenting mistake number 2, not staying centered.
Not staying centered, which is in the moment, right? We've had conversations about the challenge for parenting that comes in being prepared and planning for the future with our kids, and also staying right here today. It's a challenge. When we're constantly hitting our kids with, you're not going to get into college, or do this today so you can have this in 5, 10, 15 years, that becomes really hard for them to find any enjoyment in right now. We've jumped on them, so we want to stay really centered. Most of our conversations and motivation needs to be helping them see what they're gaining from doing good things today. Now, our minds are still going to be focused on the future.
Sure, they have to be.
They do, but we want to have conversations with them about what is happening today and how is that benefiting you? Are you having fun? Did you learn today? Have you created a connection today? If we can help them see what the day-to-day looks like, they will be prepared for the future. But we've got to stay centered with them. And it's a huge mistake that we make as parents, especially at the start of a new school year.
I feel like this next mistake speaks loudly to the soccer mom, the dance mom, any sport parent out there living vicariously through our children.
Through our kids, right? This is a really hard one. There is a fine line between, I grew up loving tennis, and so I'd love to see you love it too, and I need you to succeed in something because I regret that I didn't, right? And that's where we kind of get this definition where we've gone too far the other direction, we're gonna start hurting them. This is not getting into the college you want, so your kid to go there. Even down to, I actually heard this one recently in my office, a teenager saying that her mom didn't get to date the captain of the football team. And so she has to date the captain of the football team.
Oh dear.
And we hear these things, right? Now that's an extreme, but we do this if we're not careful. Anytime we live vicariously or need them to take care of the regrets we have, We put them in a position where they don't form their own identity. They don't come to know who they are and what they love and when they don't love. They don't create that own internal worth that they need in order to be the adult we hope that they become. We also set them up to be more prone to anxiety and depression. They tend to self-sabotage because the pressure is so great. And so in little or big ways, we don't want to live vicariously through them and ask them to manage our regrets.
All right, speaking of the word manage, you say as parents we often mismanage homework.
We do, we mismanage it sometimes. For example, we expect our kids to sit, even older kids, for a long extended period of time and do homework. You'll sit here until it's done, and it turns into hours and hours and hours. That's mismanagement. It's not going to benefit them or us, right? Other things we tend to do, we tend to have kids do homework right before they're getting ready to go to bed.
I was going to ask you about the timing of it because I've heard from both camps. I've heard from parents who say when they're in the school mode, they walk through the doors, quick snack, and then right back into homework, get it done, knock it out of the way. Or, and I kind of fit into the second camp, it falls later at night, pre-bedtime. Is there a best time to bring on the homework burden? Yeah,
obviously you're gonna work with your own children, but there is actually a middle between both of those two approaches you just said. They do need to come home and have some time to decompress, have some time to grab some food. Really, we want that time to be when we connect with them. That's a crossroads. So we want to hear what happened. We want to hear all those things and give them a break. What we do want to focus on with homework, though, is not putting it the last thing before their heads hit the pillow. One, especially with younger kids, there's no motivation. Great, get your homework done so you can go to bed. And they're like, well, I don't want to go to bed.
So well, then I will not complete that homework.
Why do I
want to stay up forever?
Why do I want to do this homework if it means it leads to bed, right? We also want to put a little bit of a buffer in there. And we felt this too. As adults, we've pushed through what the day requires. And then a couple minutes for me to just sit and have my own mind and my own space that's not attached to a requirement or an expectation is really, really great.
Wise.
So not butting it right up against bed. Give them some time so they can finish homework, and then they've got 30 minutes to do whatever the heck they want. It will move mountains when it comes to managing homework, and we mismanage it sometimes.
And probably just the happiness level of your kid and ultimately your household. 30 seconds left, the nagging, the lecturing, you say we could shelf that.
We could shelf it. And let's maybe even, we could make a pact, right? Let's just make a virtual pact with one another that we're all gonna work really hard this year to not nag or lecture.
Define nag.
Oh, over and over
just
and over again.
I mean, it's what we think, it's what we feel as moms, and actually what we hate. Like saying, I hate repeating myself 10 times.
Well, and wouldn't it be interesting, what if we flipped the switch and there was an adult who nagged us all day?
Right.
It would not motivate us to do more. The thing about nagging and lecturing too is we don't ever do that unless they're not fulfilling their responsibilities. We don't nag and lecture about how great their bed looks because they've made it every day, or how awesome they are for being on top of their schoolwork. We nag when they're not doing it how we want them to do it or not doing it well.
So what if I'm asking and they're not doing? How do I eliminate the nag?
Now we're back to one, problem solving. We're back to looking at each other together and saying, hey, let's you and I discuss what an end goal here is. Tell me how you're gonna best go about this end goal. What can the two of us do together to achieve this?
So it's more words, more conversation.
It is. And pulling it away from us, right? So that we're not constantly saying, I need this done because it has something to do with me. And that will help us not nag or lecture. They're kids, they're teenagers, they're learning too. And so we don't want to make the mistakes that hinder their ability to learn this school year.
All right, we're going to stop taking over. We're going to stay centered. We are not going to live vicariously through our children. We don't care who they date. That story kind of stunned me. We're going to stop mismanaging our homework, and we are not going to nag or lecture. Thanks for the challenge and the reminder, Heather. We'll be right back.